Okay, so right now, as you see, we're in the process of making this delete handler. We have it here. We had it in the original server route at this endpoint, but ultimately this endpoint is no longer necessary because this whole method has pretty much been deprecated right here. So they added it as a server handler on the default create file route. So now what we're going to do is, instead of making this a post, actually we'll keep it as post request, and then we're pretty much going to write our post request method. And now we're in here. What do we want to do? We want to first try to parse the body. Okay, but to parse the body, we gotta grab the request here. Okay, we got the request, and then we do constant data equals await request dot JSON. Yes, sir. Okay, now we're awaiting the request.json, which means we can also now start to deconstruct this data object with all of these beautiful values here. But then we also need typing, so we have this other side of the data. Now we have all these values and they are type safe. We know if it's we know that this is a string. We know delete account is a boolean. We know unsubscribe emails is a boolean. So now it's all type safe. So when we're grabbing the data out of this, we don't have the types for the data. But when we do this, we have types for the data. So now we got the data. What do we need? We're right here. See, I did it wrong before. I'm still learning, ultimately, like a lot of us. So what we do is, if we do not get an email in the request body, or unsubscribe emails is null, which means it was not given either, or delete account, which is another boolean, is also not given, because a user could want to unsubscribe from the current marketing emails, but they might want to not delete their account. So it's fair that these are two options that are there. And we also have a reason, which is a string, pretty much as a user explaining why they're pretty much doing that. So what we want to do is, pretty much, if none of these things are, we do not want to throw an error, because this is our API handler. What we're going to do is we're going to return a new response. Here's our response message. And then inside here, we should have the headers object, the headers that we can set, the status, and the status text. So if the values are wrong, what the hell am I bothering this idiot for, bro? Yeah, I think it is a 400 bad request. Yeah. Pretty much. So instead of here, what we were doing is we were throwing this error, but this is ultimately like an API handler. So pretty much we want to just exit out of the function, which is our API call post. We want to completely exit out of it. We do not want to continue it if either if the email, the unsubscribe, the delete account, or the reason, if any of those are missing. So even if we do get the email, but unsubscribe emails, delete account, and reason are missing, then that's kind of an issue. So that's why we're doing this here. So now we know that all of these values will be here, be past this point. We don't really need headers here. Beyond, yeah, we don't really need headers there right now. So now we're gonna go, and what's next? What's next? So here is, we're gonna say, here is where we check if we got another reason. So here we're pretty much doing a check, if not other reason, and reason equals other. we're gonna also here return a new response because we don't want to throw an error, but we're gonna take this error message here. And then remove this. And that's also a bad request. So user display ID. We create an ID for this error. And this we're gonna import it. We have it already. Where the hell did we get it from here? Yeah, it's from crypto. Okay. So then here's where we do our database request here. So we're pretty much doing constant deleted. Here's where we're doing our database request right here. Oh, we gotta import this table. And we also have to import our DB instance. And as you see, the error is gone because we do indeed have this table. And this should pretty much return the user display ID. So pretty much the ID. Yeah, so pretty much we insert the user display ID, so our backend will be able to cross-reference the code that we're now giving to the user. Then we return the user display ID, obviously, pretty much the ID of that we assigned to this data deletion request. And then here's finally where it's over. We're just gonna do return new response .json because we know we want to send JSON back. What's wrong? We'll come back for that. So pretty much we're returning a new response right now. So the goal, what you see here, we're returning pretty much JSON.stringifying. That's the body. So we're gonna say constant request, constant okay. I don't know why I kept doing this success equals true thing. Honestly, it's pretty ridiculous. It's not really helping us and it's not really useful. So request object. Message and the ID is what we need to pass. So that's the body of our error right there. That's the body of the response right here, and then we now get to do the status, which will be 200 if it got to this point. And the status text, we can say okay. Where's MDN? You know, these days I full Google, so it's like status 200 and status text okay or okay, and this guy's just gonna answer. Oh. Okay, let's go with let's go with this one, or should we go with capitals? Forget it. Something's wrong. Alright, put a period here. Oh. This is where we do this JSON.stringify thing. It's saying something is wrong here. Nero has expression which selects the signature. Buddy, wake up. Oh, that's my fault. We're not supposed to use new there for this. I somehow completely skipped my try catch. Completely skipped it. That's so ironic. So pretty much you see here we have it boomed already. We're pretty much gonna return this data, which instead of calling the manual JSON.stringify method on the body, we're just going to straight up just send it through. And did we throw any errors up here? And sometimes I have questions because we're here. I'm gonna show this to buddy here, and I want to know here is if this is in a try catch, would I return? I do throw error in catch, or is that not appropriate, or do I? Like, I think now we gotta check like what kind of things would have went wrong here. We see here that we're doing this database query, so we can for sure get a if instance of, and then we gotta find the Drizzle query error because that's what it might be. We're gonna do. What do we do if we have a Drizzle query error? If our query fails, what do we do? Well, we'll come back to this in a second, and then we'll do if error instance of error. I think for here we can do return response, something like I don't know. Is that even valid? I think the message here should be error.message and then status something and then status text here. Yeah, it's true, this is internal. Okay, But if the error is just an instance of another error, then we're gonna return new response, and we're gonna say message. Let's see. What other status text do you have? Not any of these, that's for sure. Then we also need to cancel the case where it's not either of those things. Now here's where I usually start to question Buddy here, because this whole catch now it feels like I keep repeating myself. What's wrong here? The hell did he tighten up? Like, what is this? God, we can leave it like this, to be honest with you. I'll leave a little to do. Fix how we respond to errors here. And now we sign it. What's the date today? 09/25. And then I think that might be it, to be honest with you. And as you also see here, I have, oh, that's so nice. I completely forgot. We're on the same exact page, eh guys? Here's my component. Pretty much I have the schema, or here's the delete page. I have a page layout that I pass in the React component here. The page layout, it usually takes title, URL, and component. But if the title is not provided, I believe it uses, let's go check this out. If title is not provided, it uses company name, which we have in our environment, I believe, a string variable. And the URL will always lead to home, and the logo, which will be where the URL is usually applied to, will go to the home page. So we pass it in the React component here, React node, and then we pass it in the component here to pretty much display the data. So then we have our schema here. It's a Zod object, email, unsubscribe emails, which will be pretty much if a user wants to just unsubscribe, it's a Boolean. Delete account. So you must select at least one option that refine any defaults to false, pretty much. So because the user might not want to delete that account. Reason for request, another reason. So Then we have a type that we infer off this, so we can use it below for our form data. Then we have the response of the data, that deleted data response, which we just now changed, ironically. As you see here, it now returns response data, which is just message and ID. So I can go in here and no, we're not doing anything with success anymore. Let me check, am I using it anywhere? I am indeed not using it anywhere, so I can just go. So we see the ID, which is pretty much a unique user ID that we created right here. This is the shape of the secrets crypto modules UID returns, and then we have our form, which takes in the form data, our submit delete form function, which takes in our delete form data, which is this. And then it returns a promise of this data shape. And as far as the URL goes, now it changes. We're not fetching from here anymore. We're fetching from here. Ironically, the same page that we are on. Changed it, and then pretty much we're doing the same thing. We were waiting for the response. We do await fetch to our URL. It's a post method. Is our server method post? Yeah, confirmed post. It's a post method. We include the credentials like the cookies. And the headers accept application.json, and the contents are application.json. So pretty much the contents of this data that we're sending here is application.json, which pretty much like we're sending JSON. You see what I mean? And we're JSON stringifying form data, which has this data in it, which we passed in to the submit delete form function. And we have an abort signal. If it takes more than 5 seconds for the call to work, we just abort. So then we have the response data. We pretty much JSON stringify it. This is where, and the reason why we had to do this. The whole await request.json and this is because we never ended up doing that here. So we pretty much response.json, we JSON stringify it. And then if response is not okay, pretty much like if the response is not JSON, like we just tried to get it out, we throw an error, which will ultimately present on this page. So it's I think it's okay to throw an error for the function on this page. It's not really a network request anymore, so it doesn't need response. We can just literally take this error.message, which will just be response data.detail, or fail to process request, and then we return the response data. We catch the error, console.error, form submission error, and then we send the error. This is kind of unsafe, honestly. Like, what are we doing here? This error object might have sensitive data, so we don't want to exactly send it out there. But we will console.error that we had a form submission issue, and we're gonna throw that error. And then we have here a success dialog, which pretty much it's a forced alert that pops up after the user successfully submits, that shows them the ID that they received from their original submission. And it pretty much, we have a set open. Default is false, it's not open by default. We have a use state variables that we were passing in for set open, which was a boolean, and user display or set. Oh yeah, these are pretty much the state values. Set open, which is a React set state value, and we have the open value. So we do open and set open, and then the user display ID, which is a ref because it will ultimately not change. And then we have the navigate because we want to get the user away from this page once they've requested the data deletion. So and then we're returning here alert dialog. We're sorry to see you go. We have received your request. We will confirm in the next 48 to 72 hours. And then we give them the account deletion ID, which is from the response data or from the ref that we pass in actually. And then if they want to copy it, we give them navigator.clipboard and let them copy that value and the copy button. And then we say keep this ID to reference in case they need to reach back out in case the emails don't stop. And then here's the big bang where we do the form. So we have here a search. I didn't show you guys here. We have this validate search set right here, which pretty much is telling our route here, the create file route, that we might, which is an email and optional. So we might have an email param passed in, like an email search parameter passed in. Optional, so the page won't break if it's not there. Like if we go back to the page right here and we pass in no email, it registers as no email. But I wanted to make it so that people aren't usually coming here on their own per se. They're usually being redirected here. So if we're gonna say James, it's not even test at test.com, and automatically we grab this variable that we set. We validated the search on this page to have an email or not have an email, and it will automatically be a default value of our email input form. But here's the cool part, the built-in validation. If an email is not an email, we get the Zod error here. I don't know how a regular user would solve something like this. I think we're gonna have to do something about this. Let me add another note here. And the errors more gracefully. Yes, so as you see, it's not going to allow invalid pretty much params to be loaded in. So if we do test at gmail.com, any valid email, and it will automatically send it into our input here. And we see here a reason. Why would you wanna? And here's another thing I was thinking. Unsubscribe from future emails, delete my account. I feel like here we're asking them for a reason. Unsubscribe from future emails, delete my account. I feel like some information is missing, but ultimately this is churn, so we want to make it useful without having to put in too much effort. So what we're gonna do here is test the request. We're gonna do reason I just don't find it useful, unsubscribe from emails, and delete my account. So we're gonna check the console here. Sent. We're sorry to see you go. We have received your request and we'll send you a confirmation email in the next 48 to 72 hours. And then here's the account deletion ID. It's that unique user ID that we created via our backend. Copy. And I think we need to add an animation to that. Yeah, this thing is so nice. Well, it's not finding my thing, but this is really cool. Import motion from motion/react See, good thing I know it. It's trying to scam me right now. Then we're just gonna make a motion div. Grab the button here. Oh man. Put the button inside this motion.div. And what we want is some movement, man. I think I can call the ZAI here. Make this a copy animation. It pops. Oh. Let's see. Hit it. Another thing is the state changed. So it closed on refresh. Maybe instead of using state for that, we can use ref. Here's where we ask this guy, tell me, man, I have a open and set open use state now. What if I use a ref? I now have it open and alert, but on refresh use state closes that. It's okay. We live with it. It's been crashing yesterday and today. We sent a request. You see that? But I don't like that on hover thing where it's like it changes the color of the text inside. Get out of here, clowns. I think that's better. See. Is there a trigger? So we were talking about the input. So let me do test it. Very expensive. And once we send the request successfully, you should see here. So where I left you last time was when I was working on how I got this thing to go become like that. So we have our tooltip here. We created a tooltip here. This. Okay, let's keep going. Here's the tooltip I made here. So all we do is we pass in the ref, which holds the user display ID, which is this thing right here. We give it a type, so TypeScript stops complaining. We used minimal use stay in here. This is pretty much like only inside this part. It's not passed anywhere or used anywhere. So we do that to set copied or set copied. And as you seen before, we were using the whole button aspect. So we moved away from the button. We moved the on-click handler inside of pretty much the tooltips triggers on-click handler. So we write to the clipboard the current ID, which if you see here, will print the current ID into my thing. And we also set copied to true. While copied is true, we see the check mark. So as you see, copied, if copied, then check mark. Copied, check mark. Else, just the copy symbol is fine. And then I even just thought about something even better. I just need a border. that good? Which means I also gotta make these things though. That's okay. That's not that important. But as you see, we're in here. We have a copy of the ID, which is the tooltip that pops out. That won't be available on mobile. So there's a tooltip. I showed you guys how we're doing the success dialog already. Where we ended the last video is right here. So we grab email from the parameters. If site contains email, it'll grab that and put it in the input for us. That's good. Then we have the success open and set success open. This is the open and set open flags that we pass into the success dialog we were just using. We initialize a ref to hold the display ID, which was that UUID that you guys were seeing. We have the form mutation where we use Tanstack queries, use mutate to pretty much where we had given a mutation function, which was the submit delete form, which is the one that we created up there where we call the endpoint we created on this page, the post endpoint. We have the onSuccess callback, which happens after the mutation is successful. So after we get the data in, it will pretty much grab the ID, we get the ID, we name it deletion ID, and then we make that the value of the ref. And then we set success to true, meaning that the display has its value. The ref has a value now. We set a value on the ref. And we set the display to be open, but if there is an error, we're doing this. I'll have to work on as well. Okay, and then here's our form with the default values. So we have email or nothing. So email can also be undefined, which is what happens when there is no value in the email, and the form always initializes to an empty string. And yeah, pretty much this is the code. Manage your data, the title right there. Submit your email to unsubscribe from future communications or request account deletion. We prevent the default and the propagation to cancel key clicks so that the key will submit right here. If we click enter, like for example, we'll try to submit, but it can't submit because there's an error. And then we have our form fields: email, reason, which you're looking at them, which is a select with a lot of triggers. And if this field's value is other, we call it other field, and we drop this in there, which is this input right here, this text area. And pretty much it's another form field that we use. This HTML4, I feel like I'm having a fight with it. Get out of here, you're not needed, buddy. I don't think it's needed anymore. So yeah, people can type a quick message on why they canceled if the explanation is not one of these. And then they send the request, and we have our form handler. We also have the error. Can't really show you how that works right now, kind of complicated. But then here's our success dialog, which we initialize inside the div, but outside of the form. And yeah, thank you for joining our